And so here we see 4 women on burros out in front of the Garden of the Gods. And it was just, every image is going to be very similar to this. People gathered around the balance of the rock, trying to hold it up, typically either with funny hats on or in funny poses. One of the great things we think about with historic photos is to see change over time. So here we have an image of a couple probably being driven by a driver, a hired car, in Garden of the Gods. And so when we go out to Garden of the Gods and see automobiles all over the place, it's certainly not a new trend. This is probably from about 1925, 1930. What it is about men when they get together and go on vacations together that they take silly pictures, I don't know. But this is one of those. Couple of older men, again with their favorite burros and their favorite hats on.
And there's a fence back there.
There is a fence. And for a time, beginning around 1900, Balanced Rock was privately owned. And it was owned by a man named Gerke. And he would let people come in and see the rock for free, but he had a photo concession. And so thousands of people had their photos taken during that period when he had this concession. And many of them ended up in our collection. And so when you see a fence in these photos, that's what you're looking at. You see a trend starting to develop of people on burros. Here are 2 couples, younger couples. Lovely frilly hats. Here's really the first group photograph. 1910, a group, an organized group, probably taking a tour through the Pikes Peak region, all gathered around the rock. And there are the ever-present burros again. This is one of my favorite. A whole group of individuals, entirely women, I believe, with sombreros on. So that's a festive touch. Oh, here's one with children. That's a rather small-looking burro. Boys with also funny hats on and tights. Don't see boys in tights too much anymore. Don't really see much of Balanced Rock right now. It's more of a detail of the family with Balanced Rock just in the background. Another family, probably an extended family, with a baby. I like the baby on the burro. You can see that they've cut stairs to make it easier for the visitors to get up to the rock. This was a time where everybody dressed in black, and it looks like it was probably cold. So one of the things I always see in these photographs is family vacations, and very similar to what a family vacation's like now. The kid is being forced to pose, mom's tired, and dad's thinking about all the money being spent on the trip. That's a nice photo in the buggy. Very close detail of the rock, kind of looking up underneath of it. This whole area around Balanced Rock was called informally the Mushroom Rocks. So it was just something that appealed to people and brought them up to it. This area was owned at the time by Manitou Springs, and there was actually a conflict between Gerke and Manitou Springs over ownership and what was allowed to happen up there. Another similar photo, young children, family, apparently, traveling through the region. That's more of the classic image of Balanced Rock that we think of today. I wish we had a hat concession in Garden of the Gods still today. I think it'd make the whole place more festive. This one I love. It's too bad that the image is rather fuzzy, because this looks to me like the 1950s and much more recent. It's hard to tell because it is so fuzzy, but it looks like much more of the Daniel Boone TV show era, where people are dressed as cowpokes as opposed to being dressed in more turn-of-the-century clothing. And that's the first one where they're underneath of it, got their back into it, which today is the cliche photo of the rock. Some folks we happen to know who these are. This is Mr. and Mrs. Zimmerman and Mr. and Mrs. Pelton. They were visiting Colorado Springs from New York. Oh, here's another one of somebody holding the rock up. Again, looks like a kind of a different place. There's a tree that I don't remember trees being that close to up there. A lone gentleman. This is another one of a large, probably extended family, number of children astride burros. A couple of babies in the image. I like the 2 boys, I believe they're boys, with very flat hats on. At least that's the way it looks like to me. I'm not quite sure what type of fashion statement that is. Here's a great image of the photographic studio, the Gerke photographic studio up there. And you can see that there's kind of a traffic jam at the time. It's, I don't know, counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least 5 buggies in there. And then all the people lined up on the rock across the road that people still know today and climb to today on the other side of Balanced Rock.